You thought there was only one Joker. You thought this was the one interesting thing about Darkseid War. You thought that this Black Label book was gonna be groundbreaking. Well, joke's on you, dear reader. Oh boy, this is gonna be rough. What is up, guys? Andrew here, and welcome to Comicbooker. All things comics from a creator. So Batman the Three Jokers is a Black Label prestige format DC comic book that has its roots in the last big crossover of the DC New 52 before its eventual rebirth. Called Darkseid War, this 2015 crossover pitted Cosmic Superbad Darkseid against another Cosmic Superbad, the Anti-Monitor, with all of the DC Universe caught in the middle. But let's not get lost in the weeds here, because otherwise I'd have to explain who Grail is, and I'm not even sure I can do that. The important thing to know is that during this crossover, Batman sat down on a cosmic throne called the Mobius Chair, which granted him access to all the knowledge in the universe. If you could ask any question in the universe and get the correct answer, any question, what would it be? Geoff Johns gives us Batman's answer. What's the Joker's true name? Bing! No, that's not possible. Three Jokers? Dun dun dun! Remember that question because it'll come back around in the end in a way that doesn't really make sense. Let's get to it. Here are my 3 thoughts on Batman 3 Jokers. Number 1, it's about trauma. And there's nothing more traumatic than comic book continuity. 3 Jokers heavily references 2 comics from 1988 that it hopes you read or at least heard about. The first and most obvious is Alan Moore and Brian Bolland's The Killing Joke. You can tell by the color palette, the 9-panel grid, and basically the whole visual style of the book. Relevant plot point. Joker shoots Commissioner Gordon's daughter Barbara and paralyzes her, basically ending her career as Batgirl for a couple of decades. But don't worry, she got better. The second is Batman: A Death in the Family by Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo, which is famous for having 2 endings that DC Comics asked fans to vote for in 1988 via a 900 number. The first ending? Then current Robin, Jason Todd, survives an attack by the Joker. The second ending? Robin dies. Foreshadowing a whole decade of reality shows to come, fans had 36 hours to vote for which ending they wanted. And guess which one they chose? Hint, it's on the cover. So Jason Todd is killed and Batman has extra trauma for another 2 decades. But don't worry, he fell into a Lazarus pit and got better. Now he goes by the name Red Hood, and he's basically the ultra-violent bad boy of the Bat family. But wait! This comic's emotional premise is that Barbara and Jason didn't really get better because they still carry around the emotional trauma that Joker inflicted upon them when he shot them or, beat them up to death. It's just as intense as having your parents gunned down in front of you, making you an orphan. And so they join Bruce Wayne on his investigation of the 3 Jokers mystery. So all 3 of them can have PTSD-style flashbacks of the trauma that forged them. Which leads me to my second thought. Number 2, it's a gorgeous book. Are you a fan of detailed blood spatters? How about harsh shadows that emphasize angry brooding? Or maybe you want to see a Joker shark bust out of an aquarium tank plus an army of naked Joker zombies. This book has got all of that, expertly illustrated by Jason Fabok with colors by Brad Anderson, and some really nuanced, subtle lettering by Rob Leigh. People, if you like Killing Joke for the art, this book will spoil you. Jason Fabok is like the love child of Brian Bolland and Gary Frank, with a dash of Jim Lee in there to make things super extra cool. Drawing a 9-panel grid story can be exhausting because of the visual density it requires, but Jason Fabok executes it all with flair and style. The script calls for a ton, and I mean a ton, of emotional facial close-ups. It's a book that relies on a lot of acting, and the art delivers on every front. But, as we learned from movies like last year's Dark Phoenix, no amount of good acting or good actors can save a bad script. Which brings me to my third thought. Number 3, it doesn't make sense. Spoiler alert, I can't talk about this without spoilers. Let's start with the plot. Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood are all separately hunting down the Joker until their investigations collide. They realize there are 3 main Jokers, plus lots of other dead Jokerized people. Jason kills a Joker, pissing off the other 2. He gets captured and beaten up again. We learn that they're trying to make a new Joker, probably the ultimate one, and they choose Joe Chill as their victim. Batman stops them. One of the Jokers kills the other, leaving only one Joker left, the comedian, who says he's the ultimate chaos, etc. So, let's lay out the emotional stakes here. The story makes it clear from the beginning that Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood are all scarred and traumatized. Jason got killed, Barbara got crippled, and Bruce was orphaned a long time ago. The story bends over backwards so that each of them can relive their trauma to some degree and face it and come out victorious. And so Jason gets beaten up and recovers. Barbara sees the Joker a lot and smashes a camera into his face and gets back on a treadmill in the end. Bruce meets the person responsible for making him an orphan, Joe Chill, and saves him from the Joker and some bricks. And they're cool with each other now. Sort of. The problem is, well, we've seen this all before. We've actually seen it over and over and over again. And if you're a continuity-heavy book that invites the reader to be familiar with all of these Batman stories that it's referencing, then you probably know that Barbara got over her spinal injury a long time ago. Jason has always been angry and, sort of dancing and killing people under the Red Hood, anyone. And Bruce is always having flashbacks to his parents dying and sort of getting over it and using Batman as a way to process his trauma and move forward, and so on and so forth. None of this is new. The only thing that's potentially new is this sudden out of the blue romantic thing between Jason and Barbara, but then that is literally swept away at the end of the story, making sure nothing really changes for any of these 3 characters. But Andrew, you ask, what about the main plot of this book, the 3 Jokers? Well, while this book makes a big, expansive, and frankly exciting fuss about the Joker being metaphorically and literally a virus that can be anyone, it ultimately kills off all the other Jokers until there's only one left at the end, the 1988 Alan Moore comedian from The Killing Joke. And while he keeps shouting I am chaos and I am the multiple choice and you can never really know me, Batman, and all that stuff at the end, it ultimately feels really reductive because it pushes him as the one true Joker, resetting us back to the status quo of just really one Joker. And you're like, okay, so there is one Joker. But who is this Joker? It's not important, Batman says at the end. It never has been. Because, he clarifies, I knew the Joker's name 1 week after we first met. Do you guys see the problem here? If he knew that name all along, then why the heck did he ask that question during Darkseid War? The ending tells us that the question that kicked off this entire book's premise was one that he already knew the answer to. What's the Joker's true name? I knew the Joker's name 1 week after we first met. Look, I enjoy comics about other comics as much as the next guy, but I feel like this book was trying to be a timeless Batman story about trauma, while simultaneously being a deeply intertextual story that references decades of Batman continuity. And I think the latter screwed up the former. And so we're left with this beautifully rendered 3-issue miniseries that ultimately feels hollow and unnecessary. Anyway, those are my 3 thoughts. What did you think about the book? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, this is Andrew signing off. Peace.